Hello everyone and welcome to Game 2 in a series between Huck and Stephano. Game 2 taking place here on Antigua Shipyard. Huck currently down 1-0 in the series as Stephano took Game 1 pretty impressively. Pretty much about 2/3 of the way through the game, Stephano already had the game, and unless he made a terrible mistake, there was no way Huck could really come back. It was one of those slow deaths that you often see in StarCraft 2 when players want to make sure that they don't overcommit to a fight and then end up losing, and Stephano just being cold and calculating, as we now see a pylon being placed down here on the low ground. And yes, Huck will be going for, I believe, once again, a Forge Fast expansion on Antigua Shipyard. Stephano looking like he's going to be opening up with a sort of standard play, no crazy 7 full or anything in that nature, as an Overlord now making its way out across the field. One Overlord already halfway across the map, as this one probe is looking to do a bit of disruption at the natural expansion, or perhaps even in the main base. So far, Stephano has been opening up with a pool hatch, and he was able to get in some early damage with those Zerglings. And I really question Huck's front door, being able to just keep those Zerglings outside of his base. And we saw a little bit of mining disruption happen in the early game, as we are now going into a spawning pool at the main base. So far, no indications of a hatchery just quite yet. And all this probe wants to do is see if gas is taken. If gas is taken, that means that Zerglings and Banelings could possibly be coming in, or even just metabolic boosted lings. And that is a different story and a different beast altogether, as we now see a drone try and get some easy early damage against that one probe. And also, nicely played by Stephano, able to establish up this hatchery, even though there was a probe trying to block it. Stephano about to finish with his spawning pool here, may train up some Zerglings, should get up a queen. Meanwhile, we are going into a Forge Nexus down here by Huck, and Huck is going to be utilizing this Nexus as part of his wall-in, as the Overlord has arrived, and he pretty much has a very good idea of what is going on. Another pylon being established off over here as well, as we do see a hatchery about halfway completed. Huck is supply blocked, unable to train up anything new, as Stephano takes an early supply lead, and also training up a queen for increased production as well. Huck sitting at 19/26, establishing assimilators now, and with these assimilators should be able to get up that cybernetics core, level 1 weapons upgrade, warp gate tech, and perhaps Huck will be a little bit more successful overall in Game 2. As Game 1 really had him playing a little bit more passively and not really engaging. Stephano looking to establish up another base, a third base here at the 4-minute 30-second mark. And there's not much Huck can really do about this. This game is really unfolding similarly to how Game 1 did. And it's going to be a good question to see when these players actually deviate. Stephano knows that if the game goes long, he can, in fact, win this game. As his late game was very powerful. So perhaps Huck may be the one who tries to do a little bit more with a smaller number of units. Perhaps try to be a little bit aggressive. 2 base, 6 gate with a smaller number of probes, perhaps harvesting away. Currently sitting on 29 probes versus 26 drones, as the Nexus is up here. Zerglings hanging around by these mineral patches, and I like this by Huck. Huck is being very careful to not, at this point, oh, it looks like this one probe may actually take some damage, and the probes are dancing around. The one Zergling's looking to get in some shots off over here, as the Zerglings are backing away once more. Hatchery by Stephano already has a queen tending to it, and Stephano is going to be able to macro up heavily, as we now see 7 drones being trained at a time. 37 drones versus 35 probes, and still Huck unable to really move out in order to punish this third base. Now, Stephano wants to make sure that he finishes this game perhaps a little bit earlier than the last one, as Zerg players normally have a hard time establishing a 4th base here on Antigua Shipyard. Antigua Shipyard one of those bases where you can have your main base and your natural pretty easily. Your third isn't too far away, but then your fourth base options are only limited to either the center here, or perhaps if you're a little gutsy, you can try to take this expansion here as a Zerg. But that does allow another route for your opponent to get inside and do harassment damage, and it also forces you to try and take down these destructible rocks earlier if you want to be able to reinforce it. Both sides now sitting on about, what, 50 or 64 supply versus 52. Stephano taking a pretty early lead now, as we are going into 8 Zerglings and 6 more drones. Stephano not letting up in terms of overall macro. Probes still mining away. Zerglings still being trained up, and we'll see if Huck is going to be able to be the aggressor in this game. So far, I haven't seen that many gateways, only 4 gateways plus 1 robotics facility. Perhaps the number of immortals could go up in order to take on these roaches. Zerglings gonna make their way out across the map. The Zerglings do not have metabolic boost, unable to surround any of those stalkers just quite yet, as the stalkers are retreating once more. Sentries, zealots, and stalkers moving together down the ramp. Stalkers getting off some easy shots here onto those Zerglings. The Zerglings now caught on the wrong side of the field, and more Zerglings will get lost there. An easy small victory for Huck. Ow. A small victory for Huck, and as Stephano still has the supply advantage. 16 roaches now being trained. We are going into level 1 missile attacks and Glio reconstitution, so Stephano may just simply try and break down and crash down the front door with mass roaches with level 1 weapons upgrades. Those level 1 weapons upgrades give each of those roaches more than a 10% increase in damage, better than what the stalkers would get against a roach. One of those ways where even though the roach does attack for a fairly high number, 16 to 18 damage at level 1, it attacks relatively slowly, but it does make sure that armor is not as effective as the game continues on. Roaches now making their way out across the map. Are they going to be able to swarm? Are they going to be able to deal damage? Perhaps pick off a lot of these very, very important sentries. Colossus now on the field as well. Level 1 weapons upgrade as the second Colossus now being added. Roaches now looking, maybe able to get off a free Colossus here. The Glio reconstitution. The probe now get taken down. Roaches trying to take down this Colossus. Colossus already down to about half life after all the shields are destroyed, and now taking down some of the probes. Back over here, roaches engaging against sentries and stalkers. There's simply not enough units, as the roach is going to be able to walk up here in just a moment. More and more force fields are being placed down. Sentries doing their best to try to hold off the swarm, but Huck is not the best shape and the best form, already down by 100 supply. Colossus, level 1 weapons upgrade, no extended thermal lance range at all. Zerglings are going to crash down against all of these pylons here, and Huck is in trouble. Perhaps sniping up the Nexus is all you need at this stage, as Huck is going to end up losing a 400 mineral Nexus plus the mining time for a good minute and a half, perhaps even longer. Roaches now trying to once again just charge their way after that Colossus. Force field, trapping some of those roaches. You see a pylon has been taken down, canceling all of those warp pits. You can see the Colossus already down to 5 hit points. The Zergling gets off the final shots there, and there is the GG, as Huck loses game 2 and loses 2 straight games to Stephano, 1 on Daybreak, 1 on Antigua Shipyard. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed game 2 between Stephano and Huck.